Hello, boys and girls. We are live on the Instagram. First time being live on Instagram. We've been live on YouTube. We are live on YouTube as well. And doing Daily Dollar here. If you haven't joined us before, well, I don't know what to tell you. It's great. Free betting advice. So we can get right into it. We have some really good games tonight. And I've already placed my bets. Let's start in Atlanta. What a series it's been between the Knicks and the Hawks. And I'd maybe stay away from this. I'm not personally putting any of my money on it. But I do think that Trae Young said it best when he did this thing, see you in the A. See you in the A. And he walked off. He was extra swaggy. And so I do think that the Hawks playing at home now, they're going to be looking to come out firing. Trae got spit on in that game, and no one likes to get spit on. Maybe some people do. Some people are kinky like that, but I don't think most people enjoy being spit on. This is a very interesting series so far. Just 2 games in, and the Knicks averaging 103 points, the Hawks 99.5, but I don't think that necessarily lines up with what will happen tonight. You got to think that both those games have been in New York. That's a really tough place to play in for any opponent. And the Knicks, just like any Tom Thibodeau team, sometimes in the playoffs, it seems like their offense kind of disappears. Meanwhile, that home court advantage for Atlanta, I think that's the reason that the Knicks are 4.5-point dogs in this one. The line's 212. I think that's appropriate. Like I said, I would probably stay away from this game. But if you are a betting person, if you're bent on spending some money on this one, I would go with Atlanta. And I'm thinking that they do break that 100-point mark tonight. I'm thinking 107 to 99. That's my official prediction. I think just the rims aren't going to be quite as friendly in Atlanta. A lot of fans are going to be making some noise, and they want to make sure their presence is felt as much as the New York Knicks had their presence felt in MSG. Now, there's some really good player props in this one because, in case you haven't noticed, Derrick Rose has been on a tear lately. And so one I want to get into specifically is the Derrick Rose line. I'm taking the over on the 18.5. Other ones that have my attention, I think Trae Young has a really good chance of going over. He's 26.5. I think I would have placed that more like at 31.5. I know the Knicks are obviously a really good defensive team, but let's be real. Trae plays well at home, and he's going to be coming out firing. I think he's going to be extra aggressive, but they're going to do a lot of different things to, try to control him. Julius Randle at 24.5. I kind of want to take the under there. I feel like Randall's had a really hard time this series, and it's not going to be any easier at Atlanta. So that's my thoughts on Knicks Hawks. We're going to move right on. We got the Brooklyn Nets taking on the Boston Celtics, and cat's out of the bag, folks. The Celtics suck right now. All right, it is what it is. The Boston Celtics are having a lot of trouble against the Brooklyn Nets, and rightly so. I think this would be a much different series with Jaylen Brown healthy, but Jaylen Brown's not healthy. And I think Tatum definitely could go off tonight. I think the over is almost a lock at his 28.5. I think it's more like 40 for Tatum tonight. So I would take that, but I think the Hawks cover their spread as far as the game line goes. That's an 8-point spread right now. And I think the Nets, even though playing on the road in Boston, like the Celtics will keep it close, right? They'll keep it close for a while, but then eventually they're just not going to be able to contain these guys. And they're getting exposed. They're not super deep right now. And the Nets are deeper than people realize with Blake Griffin playing great ball. And then Joe Harris was the best player in that first half for the Nets the other day. And that guy's best 3-point shooting percentage in the NBA so far this season. And so when you're looking at that game, you're looking at the 227 over-under. That's an interesting one. I feel like the Celtics aren't able to necessarily hold up their end of the bargain for that one. And so I wouldn't really touch it. but I do think that the Nets are able to put up about 115. And I don't know if the Celtics crack 100. If they do, I don't know. I'm thinking 115, 104, a little closer than it's been because it's in Boston, but it's a lock. The Nets will win tonight. I hate to call anything a lock, but it's as close as you're going to get to a lock. I really do think that the Nets win tonight. Moving on to the final game of the night, and obviously it's just me today. No Hami, no Josh. And so getting through a little bit quicker than usual. And I'm trying to eat some dinner. I got some delicious food here, courtesy of our good friends at Taste of Lebanon. Oh yeah, it's good stuff. So the Clippers, man, no one wanted to believe me going into this. I told y'all it was going to be the Mavericks winning this series. I said that on Sports Betting Denver Sports Betting, excuse me. I said that on the playoffs preview. I didn't think it would be like this, but the Mavericks are way hot. They didn't have Jalen Brunson in the bubble last year. You add a really nice playmaker and a really clutch scorer. I saw this guy drop 56 points as a junior in high school against Whitney Young, led by Jahlil Okafor, who the next year would be at Duke. Next year, I see him come back like a, cannon and have a great run to win the IHSA championship as a senior in high school. And he's always had that clutch gene. There's a reason he did so much winning at Villanova. And having him as a stabilizing force offensively really goes a long way for the Dallas Mavericks. And so I do think that the Mavericks are a great option here. But it's also really hard to imagine them going up 3-0. But at the same time, it's hard to imagine them losing at home with how good they've looked so far. And I think the Mavericks, they won by 52 points earlier this season. So they may very well have LA's number. They won 2 out of 3 times against LA. And they shot 39% this season against LA. And so the Clippers obviously have a really good defense and by the numbers, one of the most efficient offenses in the league. But it's all how you match up. You look at the way Tim Hardaway's been playing lately. You look at the way Kristaps Porzingis has impacted this series, even going back to last year. When he got hurt, it changed the complexion of that entire series. Tim Hardaway's at 18.5. I wouldn't feel super, don't bet your house on it, but I like the over there. Now, Luka Doncic, 29.5. Nah, I'm thinking 33.5. I think Luka could drop 40 tonight. I think he's having a monster game. And I love to look at his points, rebounds, assists. And so let's take a quick look at that. Luka, 47.5. That's a really big number. That would be a monster game. But I do think he could do it. Once again, don't bet your house on it, but I think he could do that. Tim Hardaway Jr., 23.5. I think he could definitely do that. The Mavs really space out the Clippers really well, and they have a lot of really creative players. Rajon Rondo earlier this week called out basically by Rick Carlisle, head coach of the Mavericks, for calling their plays, and Rondo had that infamously short stint with the Mavs. So he does know what they're doing. He knows what they're going to run, but the Mavericks have kind of stayed away from calling plays. But when you have that many high IQ guys, and the easiest play in basketball, the most effective play in basketball is that pick and roll. And when you have that pick and roll option to turn into the pick and pop with Luka Doncic and Kristaps Porzingis, it's just really hard to stop. And I don't think that the Clippers have an answer. They have great defense, on paper, but I think that the Mavericks just kind of have their number. And so that one is, I'm kind of leaning more on Mavs going up 3-0 tonight. So if I had to pick one, I'm going with that one. 112, 107. It's going to be close. And so I wouldn't touch this one. I'm not touching the game line. I did pick myself that Luka does go over on points. And I think you would be – I don't think you'd be too far off to have him taking the over on points, assists, rebounds tonight either. And so that should be a very fun one. We'll take just a couple more looks here. See if there's anything else tonight from these games. Anything I like. All right. Julius Randle, 5.5 assists. Not touching it. One that I do think is interesting is, well, that's tomorrow. I can't get ahead of myself. Taking a look at any potential player parlays tonight. So this is a 23 points in the win. Let's see. James Harden against the Celtics. I like that, plus 125. That's the last one I'll leave you with. Quick edition of the Daily Dollar. Thank you for the guy joining us here on YouTube. And I don't think anyone joined us on Instagram, but I think more people tune in on YouTube anyway. So see you in the A.